Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to the Marriage is Tougher Than Woodpecker Lips podcast. This is Bryan, joined by my co-host, Paul. We'd like to welcome you to a community meant for the men of the world to share their thoughts and perspectives on marriage. We can learn from each other's experiences and help each other be better husbands. This week on the pod, we want to talk to you about implementation.
All right, and before we hop all the way into it, just want to say thank you for checking us out. If this is your first time, welcome. And if you've been rocking with us for a while, thanks for coming back. If you'd like to go deeper or have any more insight that you want to share with us, please look up Marriage is Tougher on any social media channel, or you can go to marriagestougher.com, hit the contact form, and leave us your note there. If you'd like to be a guest, do that same thing. Go to marriagestougher.com, hit the contact form, leave your name and your info and what you'd like to talk about it. We can reach out and get you on the pod. All right, let's get into the show.
Right. So, what are we trying to implement today?
I see what you did there. Yeah, implementation is real, man. It's getting from your head to your heart to the actions that change or need to change. Yeah. And there are blockages between all three, right? You have to know it, then you have to be convicted that like, oh, I should do the thing, and then do it.
Yeah, I have so many good intentions. So many good intentions.
Right.
And I'm trying to make them implementations. But I think sometimes I feel like I'm trying to do too much at one time. Right? Like we once a week come in here and try to talk about something that we could change or be better at. How do you like can we possibly do all of it all at once? Or is it like a baby steps method?
I mean, in my life, it's both, right? Some things I'm an easy adopter to, and some things it is baby steps. Even if I'm an easy adopter, it does. Now that I'm thinking about it, there are baby steps to getting into it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then once I'm into it, sometimes I can run faster at it once I slowly start. So I would say baby steps. Start with the baby steps because that's one step is better than no steps. I'll just say that.
Yeah. I think for me, when I approach it with process, right, it makes it easier to implement. What I would like to be better at is not only implementation, but also lasting change.
Yeah, that's the whole point. Is unless it's time sensitive, like, oh, I need to do this in the next 6 months to complete something. Everything that I'm trying to implement at this stage of my life is to be a life change. So it's how do I implement something that is sustainable, or I should say, and even if it's hard, how do I make my mind and my will bend to the thing that I know I need to do?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, to your point, some things are easier to accomplish than others, right? Like, I don't know if I've shared on the pod yet that I quit drinking. And it was more or less just like a cold turkey, made this choice, no longer drinking, right? Now I'm 3 months in, and I think it has been easier than I thought it was going to be, right? Especially when you consider social events and, everything that society normalizes,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, and what I've found for me is being super aware of the reasons why I used to drink, right? Like I was always very good at creating a reason,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, oh, I'm on a work trip. Everybody else is going to have a drink. It's automatic. I should have a drink, right? Easy. Oh, I'm playing in a golf tournament. This is what we do, right? Like this is
Mm-hmm.
just this is the expected behavior. Um, but I also kind of like going against the grain. right? I like being my own person. I like being a
Right.
leader. I like leading by example. Um, and what I've learned is just continually making the choice to do what I set out to do or said I was going to do, um, is just that constant reminder, outside of also having a very strong why,
Hmm.
right? So I think maybe pulling that into, um, whatever conversation is produced with my wife about change or needs or expectations, understanding her why for the need or expectation, and then also developing my own to assist in making the change. And maybe that's what it is, right? Like if my wife requests uh, a change or wants to implement a new expectation, I need to have a strong enough why for myself and not only feel like I'm doing it for her.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head because that's when you were talking. I was like, oh, it's. I was thinking about the things that I've kept doing and the things that are like cyclical, where like I know it's good, but I do it for a bit and then I stop. And it's always the why because the why is what keeps you when it gets hard. And your why has to really be bigger than the obstacles that you see coming and even bigger than the ones that you don't see because you don't know if it's going to be bigger on the things you don't see, right? So, for example, I've been, I think last summer, well, around this time, I decided I'm back in the gym 5 days a week. I'm going to work out 5 days. It's going to be whatever. Started real slow, meaning I started going, but not doing anything ridiculous. I think I started 3 days a week, um, strength training. And then I added in between days doing some cardio or like active stretching days, but just to make sure I got in there, right? So nothing, no heavy weights, no long runs or whatever, so that my body would be like, okay, we're back in here. Um, it kept ramping it up, which is great. Stuck to it even when it was cold outside, even when it was right, because I didn't like the way my body felt. I didn't like the way I felt. I was either in pain or hurting myself just doing random things. And I wanted to be active to be able to run around with my youngest and let her know she can't beat me and stuff, right? Whatever your motivation. um, and just seeing an example of my dad who stayed active. He's in his mid 70s, still active as all get out. Um, so one to at least match that energy and be there. So when things came up, like what usually would stop, which is like because I would go super early in the morning, which would be going to bed late or not feeling good, getting off, not going for a couple days because you didn't feel good, but then not getting back into it because that's a thing, right? Um, so, but I overcame those. Fast forward, while I'm saying all this is I actually hurt myself in the end of March, and it took a while for me to get back into it because it's a lower leg. It was my knee, and so like a lot of stuff you just can't do. So I just took some time off in general because I was in pain, and then slowly got back into okay, I got to do upper body stuff. I got to figure out something, still work through it. Um, I say now I finally got back. I found a solution that I can still do, still work my leg while I'm recovering, and finally got back into 5 days, probably about 3 weeks ago or so. So it took a while to be back where I was, but I was still like, okay, every other day I have to do something, right? And then I even changed my diet because I have a goal weight that I'm trying to get. And I was like, well, if I'm not working out, I can't eat as much because I'm not burning as much, right?
Right.
So it's really thinking about your why. What's your end goal? I want to drop a couple pounds so that it just is better as you get older to not have the weight that you did at certain times. So I think my why was I got to drop this weight and I want to be active. Then when I couldn't be active because I hurt myself, the still weight goal was still there to motivate me to get back because I'm still not at that space yet. So you have to have a strong why, and then you have to be able to pivot even if it didn't look like how you started to still get the goal, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Um, what is one thing you're looking to implement in your marriage? I know we often talk about a lot of things that we're doing like for ourselves, um, to be healthier and things of that nature. And it makes it easier for us to use those as examples because those are usually things that we're actively doing. Um, but I always want to bring it back to marriage. Like for
Mm-hmm.
me, the I think the communication style for me is one thing I'd like to implement. Um, Being better at communication overall with my wife is obviously the overarching goal. But what I also find is kind of narrowing it down to a more specific task or item I can work on, um, not only makes me feel like I am making more progress, um, it allows me to see, I guess, like quick wins, right? Like
Yeah.
once you know you can do hard things, you know you can do hard things,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if I could see those quick wins and I could see the effect of practicing those changes, then it encourages me to push forward. So
Yeah.
like so for you, um, maybe what's one thing you would like to share that
Um, I think
to
it's,
implement?
I know, or I was just thinking overarching is communication. Because as soon as you said it, I was like, man, communication. Then you said it, I was like, ugh, did I have
Yeah.
something else? Um, and I think it's, for me, it's consistently bringing things up that need to be talked about because I am generally it's not a big deal type of person. One, because I don't like to waste words, and two, most things aren't that big of a deal. But if I can learn to communicate about the not big deal things, then when things do become a big deal, it's more routine. I've now found what works and how to even bring it up. I've seen, I've been able to read the cues on when's the right time, or even be able to say, hey, we need to schedule this time. So I think that's something that I've worked on, but I can definitely keep doing better. Um, and I was trying to think of something like tangible that I could do, and I think that's it. Like, I should just be better at bringing up stuff that bothers me. Um, and that's something that I have to evaluate. Does this even bother me? So I have to get out of over talking in my head and just being like, I think it bothers me. So let's just talk about it.
Right. Yeah. Um, so I would say same. I definitely need to be better about bringing up those things, and I think the change in style of communication for me will open that door,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I think with my personality and the way I interact with the world doesn't necessarily work in the home, specifically with my wife and children. So I've had to try to figure out how can I say this so it doesn't immediately throw up defenses, right? And and then if I've communicated something and the defenses aren't up, how can I continue to um, communicate in that manner while stating something that I feel may need to change, or just we'll just call it a concern. Um, so that we can together make some progress, right? And then how can I also not throw up my own defenses if my wife says something in a manner that I'm not a fan of,
That part.
right? Because it's funny because sometimes I attribute the way I react to what she says because of her tone. And I think it's not always the case. So I'm trying to be better at realizing what it really is. But I think sometimes it's just that I know it hurts because it's the truth, right?
Yep.
And it hurts because I realize that I've hurt her in some manner, right? And then so like I get defensive because right, like I'm backpedaling, thinking like, oh, I wasn't ready for this, right? Like
Yes.
I want to say I'm sorry, but I'm also like kind of cowering right now.
Hmm. Yeah, that's so real. Um, yeah, changes in marriage for me is interesting. Um, my wife actually challenged me on something because I was trying to implement being more intentional, and we've talked about in my experience, it's easier to do something for myself or make a change if no one else is involved, right? If there's no like if I don't have to have a gym partner, it's easier for me because like I don't have to depend on them or whatever. Like I can just go. Um, or just certain things in marriage have been hard for me, right? My wife is a lot easier to make changes that involve the both of us because I overanalyze and try to think what what's going to happen in the situation. And as I'm thinking about it, that could just be insecurity or something that I have to like want to know what the situation is. Because I mean, it's human nature to want to know that, like for security and safety. But why should I do that to the detriment of not making the change? If that makes
Right.
sense. But all that to say is I have to be more open to be honest about why is it hard for if it involves someone. And she challenged me and she was like, this doesn't like if you make this change, like it actually does benefit just you. Like it's really easy for you to just do this thing. And I was like, oh, I never thought about that way. Like it involves her, but it really benefits me. But it was still because it involves her, I've still been hesitant.
Mm.
So it's like, what is the real reason? And to your point, she brought it up and I didn't really like it. So I just got quiet. Like, but she was
Yeah.
fully correct and appropriately brought it up. Like it wasn't in like a throw your face in your face. I'm better than you. Like I figured this out. It was like, hey, like pointing this out. Like you should really think about this. And I was like, oh man, I guess I do. So the it is a blessing to have someone that is honest with you in your marriage. Um, so
That
I have
part.
to steward that and really cherish that and
Yeah.
also make the change that I still haven't made.
Yeah. So I want to lean into that while we're about to wrap up here. You said it is a blessing to have someone in, well, to have your partner in your marriage be honest with you. The other piece to that is being able to feel safe to be honest. So, um, in your opinion or in your experience, how can we create that space for each other where I feel safe being open and honest about anything, really, right? Like, not just, oh, I have this concern, but even just like for me, I don't often share with my wife like the things that are going on at work, right? Like, you very much know more about what's going on in my work life than my wife does. She feels very comfortable at sharing those things with me, so vice versa. and I don't know if it's more or less like I try to leave work at work, or if I, maybe just don't feel comfortable sharing those types of things with her. But in general, how do we create that safe space for our partner to just talk to us about anything that's on their mind?
I think you have to continue to work on your insecurities because a lot of the times when we can't handle when someone's being honest is because we have an insecurity in us that we either don't see or we see and we're not working on, right? Because we've all talked to someone and they've taken something completely different than the way that we said it, and it just doesn't make sense. And then when you go back and evaluate, you're like, okay, yeah, like I did this the exact right way, like this is how it should have been, blah blah blah. So if you can figure out what makes you insecure and kind of work on that, that helps you be more regulated in those conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to prove to your partner, you have to build up a history that you're safe to talk to, meaning you're not going to blow up, you're not going to blow things out of proportion, you're going to be rational, and you're going to be able to express back in a respectful way. So if you can do all those things and continue, even in the little conversations, that allows the bigger ones to open up. Um, and I think if there are things that you feel like you can't talk to your partner about, are you carrying something in your mind, or can they really not handle it?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because there may have been a time when they couldn't, and maybe they've grown, and you've just become so used to not telling them. Now you can see if they're open to it. Um, and again, right, like so for your example, right, of not sharing your work, if you've not you but anyone that has that issue, if you've traditionally had a problem with leaving your work at work and you put in this step, like I don't even want to think about it or talk about it because now I might not be able to leave it, or it's going to be on my mind, or that type of stuff, um, that might have been your mechanism. But if you desire to share this part of your life with your spouse, now it's like, how can I overcome that hurdle? And then maybe even talk to your spouse about it. Like, hey, I really want to talk to you about work, but I know for me, it's hard for me to leave it there. Um, I'm trying to figure out how to share that. Do you have any ideas, or that type of thing? Or it's like, do you just want me to let you know what's happening at work and maybe let me try that and you not ask so many questions at first? Because once you start asking questions, now I'm starting to think about it more and starting to process it now. I'm taking away from your time and the family time, right? So certain things, obviously every situation is different, but you can bring your spouse in and letting them know you have the want to be open and honest about everything, but you're working on doing it. And in life and in marriages, we're going to always be working on being more transparent and more honest about certain areas because we're going to keep growing and we're going to find things out about ourselves that our spouse didn't know because we didn't even know.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But we'll also find out stuff about ourselves that our spouse did know, but we were too blind to see. So, how do we find that balance and be open to those conversations? That's kind of the part. I think I rambled a lot, but
No, that was solid, man. That was all very good. I appreciate that. Um, yeah, I mean, at this point, it just goes back to once we learn something new, finding a way to implement it. If we think it'll be of value, right? We don't just go around collecting ideas and trying to implement all of them. That's useless. But the things that I think will make short-term positive impacts and build them into long-term positive impacts is what I'm looking to do in a few specific areas. There's a lot of things I'm sure we all need to work on, but I'm trying to focus more on things that she has mentioned that she would like to change, things I realized I need to change, and things that I would like to model for my kids.
Yeah, that's a good start. It's easier for sure. It's easier to bring up stuff that you've collectively decided to work on.
Mm.
So, right, what do we both decide that we want to work on for the kids? So that's easy to partner with your partner. Um, for you, obviously, it's you. But if your spouse has brought something up and you've had multiple conversations, work on that. Even if you see something else, work on that because they're already bought into that idea. So that's a good word.
Yeah. Wow, it's funny when you said it's you. What I heard was, "It's you. You're the problem. It's you."
That's how our brains work. So that's what it is. But yeah, you got anything else?
Nah, I'm good, man.
I love that. So yeah, we appreciate you guys taking the time to get through the pod. Again, if you'd like to go deeper on this at all, search Marriage is Tougher on any social media platform. Hit us up in our DMs and we'll get back to you, or leave a comment, anything that has a public post. Or you can go to marriageisttougher.com, hit the contact form and leave what you'd like to say there, and we'll reach out back to you. We appreciate you guys, and until next time, we'll chat later.
Peace.